Hello everybody, it's Max with Crypto Talk Now with this brief Allianceblock update. And before we get into this particular update, I want to state that this particular update is going to be the short dive into this particular update that we have for you. If you want the full deep dive, there will be a separate video that will go into just that, all the details in regards to this particular update. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump right into this. And as you can see right here, I'm going to go ahead and full screen this. It's just that. It's basically the ushering of the next era for the next generation of smart wallets. And of course, if you've been following our XDC coverage, we also covered what's going on with that particular new wallet, right? What they bring to the table as far as being the quote-unquote MetaMask killer, whether you agree with that statement or not. But anyway, here we go. So it's Nexera ID. Some of you guys have maybe seen this, maybe you haven't, but that is what is going on with Allianceblock. But check this out. And if anything, look at this right here. So it says how Nexera ID works. And when I saw this, I said to myself, this pretty much summarizes everything from the deep dive. I'm just being honest. There's some parts that are missing, you know, some of the other more in-depth analysis, if you will. But if you just want the quick gist, here it is. So what I really liked from this was how this enables basically NFTs to become a utility NFT, right? Not just a regular JPEG that you sell to somebody, right? Super cool. So it's all about, for instance, two-form authentication, which you should be accustomed to by now. But if anything, my key takeaway was, for instance, how you can basically control that data, your own personal data. How about that, right? On how you want to go out, right? So there's all sorts of different KYC out there, let's face it. But a lot of times that KYC is giving out too much information, which whoever's taking our data can do whatever they want with it, which is, let's face it, that's not really cool. So with Nexera, let's take a look into it right here. So for instance, you have this lady, for example, her name is Alice. She goes through a setup phase. Alice mints a Nexera NFT. And then from there, for instance, it's empty, right? There's nothing in it. There's no properties, jack diddly squat. From there, it goes to the point where, like you see right here, Alice validates documentation with KYC provider and uses Nexera ID to generate a ZK verified ID in her NFT. From there, Alice sets up an access and recovery preferences, for example, to inform authentication to access or email verification for any transactions above $1,000, so on and so forth. Now from there, it goes into identity verification. And if you're familiar already with KYC process, then you're already aware how this goes. But where this stands out, it's a little bit different. So I'll break down some of the steps, but I want to state this. So for instance, let's say you yourself, are like between the ages of, for instance, 18 and 21. You're not quite 21. You could just, set it up in which specifically saying, that you're not quite 21 yet, that you are over 18, but maybe you don't want to give out the specific birthday. You know what I mean? Again, controlling some of your own data. So it says, Alice wants to borrow from a permission pool that requires lenders and borrowers to be outside the U.S. and less than 18 years old. Alice generates a ZK proof that she lives outside the U.S. and is basically under 18 years old without disclosing her exact location or age. Alice is allowed to borrow from that permission pool, for instance. Then it goes on as far as the security, right? Because let's face it, a lot of people might not want to exactly jump into a whole new wallet, right? For instance, MetaMask has been hacked. You know what I mean? A lot of times. By the way, if you are using MetaMask, using the extension, I would highly advise that if you're doing the web-based version, that as soon as you're done with it, make sure that you fully close out by disabling the extension when you're done with it, right? Don't just simply click off of it. You want to disconnect it. There's a difference between disconnecting it and just simply hitting the exit button off of your browser. So this last few steps on security. Alice gets hacked. For instance, there's this guy named Bob, right? He wants to move her funds. Ooh, Bob, terrible guy. But he needs access to her email to verify transactions above 1,000, right? Make it that much harder for him. From there, Alice gets notified immediately, right? Via email or, for instance, a text message to her phone, basically letting her know what's going on. And then from there, Alice is like, oh, crap. There's some sinister guy. He's trying to do something crazy. I'm going to go ahead and lock and burn this particular NFT, right? The utility of that NFT is what's kicking in. Then from there, this sinister person, for instance, Bob, doubt that would be his real name, can't access her wallet. And then from there, Alice recovers her assets with a newly minted Nexera NFT. Creates that much more of what? The utility. So utility driven NFTs. And if anything, this whole service is utility driven, to say the least. This is how Nexera ID works. I think it's huge for the likes of, for instance, just that Allianceblock, right? So I thought this was a really cool update. Wanted to share it with you guys. That's basically the gist of it in a nutshell. Really, really cool. And again, this provides another element, another wallet, if you will, to another ISO. How about this? The ISOs are killing it for these new particular smart wallets. And if anything, I think it's huge. Not just for XDC like we covered yesterday, but also for Allianceblock. So guys, that is the brief update on what's going on with ALBT. Thought I'd bring it to you. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't done so already. And by all means, if you want to see the deep dive, it'll be ready for you guys here shortly. Be out on the lookout for that. May y'all have a blessed night, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.